So today's discussion, let us see the insights of DevOps architecture. So this is a blog published by some site. Let us go walk through it and identify the tasks or activities.
Mhm.
A DevOps architect has a set of roles and responsibilities which are different from that of a DevOps engineer. DevOps architect is a very significant role, and organization always keep an eye to hire them. Because of the experiences gaps, they want to keep an eye to hire them, the companies. So what is a DevOps architect? Typically, a DevOps architect defines a systematic solution which fits best across the technical, operational, and management standards. If you see technical, this technical is related with deployments and the build technologies and the processes what we use it in SDLC and also in DevOps and cloud technologies. Operational, like you have cloud operations, that operations if you want to operate it, you need to follow DevOps process for setting up the environment and deploying the builds on top of the created environments. And management standards. Of course, we have IT governance everywhere. In every small organization to higher level organizations, we need to see the policies, procedures, standards. Then the person need to follow them. They generate an organized solution by examining the large system environment and setting an application framework to deal with the difficulties in the given system. Let us say you have one e-commerce application. Yes, you will have interfaces. It is a large environment. Back-end systems are there, front-end systems are there. If you could see, Amazon published 4 years back e-commerce implementation case study. I discussed with Perumal also. You have seen that video once, I think. I discussed about the front end, I think. There was another project for back end also. So in such kind of large systems environments, what happens? The DevOps architect need to understand the technologies and technical environments and application framework, how it works domain-wise, business domain-wise, and what are the complexities in it while handling the deployments, while handling the build management, such kind of things. So the guy should be high-level techie from down to earth to top level, up to processes implementation, practices implementation. A DevOps architect must be capable of handling all these issues by implementing the strategies which are in line with the DevOps best practices. So there are some standards given by different organizations. Even in ITL, we can see DevOps practices standards through IT service management. Such kind of laid out framework has some practices standards. Those need to be adopted by this person, and he need to practice it. You might have remember we discussed about DevOps architect partner in one discussion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
There also they mentioned the same thing. DevOps best practices need to be implemented by that partner role. Okay, the same way. Generally, a DevOps architect must have prior experience in working as software developers, software architects, these roles. So obviously, like you person is very well suited for this kind of roles. You know why, right? You have development background, you have software architecting background also, right?
Yes, sir.
So with these key kind of things, your profile background people are well suited for these roles. So DevOps architects are in much demand as they process in-depth knowledge of all the DevOps stages and concepts. What are the stages? You have development stage. During development, you will have unit testing, you will have integration testing, you will have QA testing, you have UAT. All these SDLC processes, you are well aware of that in-depth knowledge because thousands of builds you might have handled it for deployment, till deployment, the live production. You might have tested yourself along with the users also. So you exercised all the activities thousands of times in your lifetime. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
With your 2.5 decades experience, not years, decades.
Yes.
Right? So They have practical experience in dealing with DevOps, operations, configuration, leadership roles. What are these? So you know deployment, how it is to happen. Now it needs to be aligned to DevOps practices. Then operations are nothing but your support, live operations support. You also saw executed them. Then configurations you have seen application configurations in different technologies. Then leadership roles. Leadership roles are managing people, then directing them for resolution of the issues, then implementing the process improvements for the root causes identified in deployment or in development or in testing, such kind of things. Every phase will have improvements as an ongoing improvements. Want to enhance your skills to become master in DevOps methodology? Okay, this is their this one training institute they have given it. A DevOps architect will have the roles responsibility similar to DevOps engineer. There may be some minor changes depending on the organization. An organization expects a DevOps engineer to facilitate a DevOps culture. Similarly, to have DevOps architect is expected to implement the changes. So the changes are nothing but your improvements. It can be each cycle wise we have a sprint retrospective meeting when you implement iterations. Retrospective gives the issues handled it, what are the experiences each person got it. We normally discuss if it is the ideal place where the agile sprint process is implemented perfectly with the different roles. As retrospective gives output of the lessons learned. Those lessons learned are going to be converted into process implements. So this architect is responsible to catch that kind of things and implement those changes in next cycles. So it is an ongoing process to take responsibility of implementing the changes. On hiring a DevOps architect, an organization emphasizes more on leading, facilitating teams. So basically, you need to be a mentor also, you need to be a coach also to mold them for the required things on different roles, including development, testing, DevOps engineers, and operation ops team. Maybe sometimes users also need to be educated, right? So the main responsibilities of DevOps architect is the architect should automate the process with proper tools. So what is automation? Everywhere it should be automated. One day we were discussing when developer insert the code into GitHub or some code repository, then it should be deployed in minutes or hours. But in between this time, what are the stages we have? Is updating the code in repository. The repository will have alert where we have created connected to the AWS or any Azure or any cloud services. That alert is going to run another process. What is that another process? So the test scripts need to be executed on that. Before that, you need to see what kind of environments are required for this build, for this code changes. That need to be executed under CI/CD pipeline. The pipeline is first code is uploaded into the repository. Then there is a next process step is running the environmental scripts. What are the scripts? It can be JSON, it can be Terraform. In that, the DevOps engineer or cloud engineer might have updated the infrastructure setup. Let us say if developer changed one column, additional column he added it in the database, what he need to do? So he need to see whether data need to be inserted. Let us say some items table is created for an e-commerce, new items for a different shopping kind of category. Okay, then what happens? He has to insert the data into the production system in the database tables. That data also you need to give in Excel to upload into the particular table after table is created. This kind of script is there in the shell script. Let us say that shell script is need to be inserted in the Terraform script. Then from that, the process need to trigger to execute the Terraform script to update the existing environment. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
This kind of things, in fact, during DevOps, you need to note down the tasks. For the same applications, what you are handling for demos, you can add this kind of changes also. Add one more table and insert the data. That is one activity. Then there can be another change, another developer might have done it in the same code file, like introduced one screen, combo box or list box with these items.
Hmm.
So that is also another change. So it means the layout, screen layout, they might have designed with some GUI or something. That file also need to be updated. Assume that. These are the common things, right, in development,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that kind of things, then it is going to create the environment, it is going to upload the data. Then after that, it is going to set up the environment. After setting the environment, he need to deploy the tools like Selenium or something to run the scripts on that environment. Because if you want to run the environment, in that environment, the tool copy should be there, whether JUnit or anything, any tool, typical tools. So then those scripts also will be there to execute this particular thing. When the data is uploaded into the table in the backend, you are going to verify it, then compare the data with the given Excel sheet. Is it correct data? Normally, typically the testing engineers does that, right? Verify from front end to back end. Is it the combo box appearing with the same data, list box, maybe, right? Is it correct or not?
Yes. Yes.
That is the verification. They need to do through script. It verifies and gives the positive results. So after Terraform is executed, environment is built, then test script need to be executed to verify front end and back end, compare the data, and then later the results need to be sent to particular CI/CD tool. The CI/CD tool can be there, Jenkins can be there in AWS, can be there in Azure built-in tools, okay, or Travis, Bamboo, any other things, okay, TeamCity or something. That tool is going to send alerts to particular people. Yes, now the build is tested with IT environment, integration test environment with front end to back end. Now what happens? Oh, it should go to QA testing. In QA testing, what happens? The functional testing happens. When functional testing happens, they need to exercise particular scenario to use that particular list box items into data creation. It means the form need to be filled with new customer information or something like that, or order something, whichever domain, business domain it is given according to that screen. Then that need to be verified, whether that is pulled into the new database. One is you created the index items with index table for these items. Then that item code need to be transferred to the transaction database. That transaction database also, the functional tester need to verify through tool after data is created by using that list items. So let us say 5 items are there. You need to create the script for 5 items separately to create the form filling. Then you need to verify in the backend in the transaction file, is it the same code, is it the same item appeared in the database. There can be a defect, you know very well, you are from development team, the developer can pull the data from item, but he may not write the data into the transaction file for the item code. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
You might have forgotten to update that particular front-end screen to insert data or update the data in the backend, in the transaction file. So how to identify that kind of defects? The test engineer is responsible to see front-end to backend. Then that script is given in the Selenium tool or some other tool, then that need to be connected as a pipeline activity to execute in system testing once integration testing is successful. So how we are going to know whether it is successful or not? Because you are getting the flags sent to integration tools, Jenkins or the AWS CI/CD tools or something. Then from that, you will take that flag and execute next script. After completion of the system testing, you are doing the verification the same way, and you are moving UAT scripts. In UAT scripts, what happens? User acceptance test business scenario will be executed. For that business scenario, the test engineers might have created some Selenium script. Then you are going to run that. Then also data need to be verified front end to back end. to confirm, yes, everything is integrated, right? So this is the way these scripts need to be added in the pipeline activities one by one. Then after that, you are going to deploy into the production. Production, how it is, you have an already existing environment. When you have existing environment, you need to deploy the upgraded script for production systems. So that script need to be executed, Terraform script. Because in production, normally, they'll have a lot of things. According to that environment, the old script need to be taken in, that need to be upgraded for inserting all these modifications in the existing environment. So these are the ways you are supposed to create the scenario in DevOps, our POCs, then execute the changes. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So that kind of things need to be automated with proper tools. That's where the meaning. The DevOps developing appropriate DevOps channels through the organization. DevOps channels are like, you have different teams. Each team might do a different deployments, depends on the technology, depends on the environment. All those need to be connected. So evaluating, implementing, and streaming DevOps practices. So the practices, whatever you followed, the results of the practices you are going to get from the sprint retrospective, agile sprint retrospective. Through that, you are going to identify the gaps. You are implementing those gaps, improvements, and streamlining DevOps process. Once the gaps are identified, the new process or improved process is going to be suggested to the teams. Then that need to be streamlined in their regular activity. So establishing a continuous build environment to accelerate software deployment and development process. That's where we have discussed it. Establishing continuous build is in a cyclic process. One after another activities need to be exercised in the pipeline method. So engineering general and effective processes. These are the whatever we discussed. These are covering that, helping operation and developer teams to solve their problems. So their problems will be identified. One is through retrospectives. Another one is in daily operations. Daily operations, these guys will have some different issues occurred. Supervising, examining, and handling technical operations. So how they are implementing technology, how they are automating it, how these all are integrated to have complete automation. Complete automation is end-to-end. So, the code is checked in, then immediately deployment should happen after some time. No manual intervention. Such kind of thing comes under technical operations integration. Providing DevOps process and operations. Yes, obviously, whatever we discussed, all these are combined here. Capacity to handle teams with leadership attitude. Yes, obviously, we discussed it. The person should have leadership skills to facilitate teams. So this is the thing they have. Now you can stop recording with that. We'll have offline discussion.